Resuming the first technical session after the tea break, we extend a very warm welcome to all of you in the plenary session. I request the guest speakers to please come up onto the stage. Mr. Tariq Kamel, Ms. Marina, Lord Tariq Ahmad, I would like to request the Honorable Minister, Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad, to kindly join us here on the stage. The theme for this session is Cyber4Growth. Transformed role of governments, regulator to enabler, leading to technology lead inclusive and sustainable growth. We are just waiting for the Honorable Minister to kindly join us here on the stage. We extend a warm welcome to Honorable Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad. The theme for this session is Cyber4Growth. Transformed role of governments, regulator to enabler, leading to technology-led inclusive and sustainable growth. We have amongst us a galaxy of dignitaries on the dais. Honorable Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad. Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad is the Honorable Union Cabinet Minister for Electronics and Information Technology, Law and Justice, Government of India. He is member of the Parliament since 2000 and has been the member of important parliamentary committees. He is also actively leading the task of developing India into a global electronic hub. We extend a warm welcome to you, sir. Mr. Tariq Kamel, Advisor to President and SVP, Government and IGO, ICANN. Mr. Tariq Kamel is an Egyptian expert in global internet governance issues. He joined the Ministry of Communications and Information Technology since its formation in October 1999. He was also the chairman of the National Telecom Regulatory Authority and the Information Technology Industry Development Agency. We extend a warm welcome to you. Ambassador Ms. Marina, she is the chair of the Global Commission on the Stability of Cyberspace and has also served as Estonian Foreign Minister. She has held several leadership positions, including Undersecretary for Trade and Development Cooperation and for Political Affairs. We have also Lord Tariq Ahmad, Minister of Foreign Office, UK. Mr. Tariq Mahmood Ahmad is a British businessman and a conservative Lord Temporal. He was appointed as the Minister of State for the Commonwealth and United Nations at the Foreign and Commonwealth Office on June 2017. Prior to this, he was Minister for Aviation and Trade and Minister for Skill and Aviation Security and Minister for Countering Estimates at the Home Office. So I hand over this floor to the Honorable Minister, Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad. Honorable Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad, Honorable Minister of Electronics and Information Technology, Law and Justice, Government of India.
Lord Tariq, Ahmad of Wimbledon, Marina, Kaljurand, Tariq, Kamel, my good friend, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed quite appropriate that immediately after the inauguration, we are discussing the important issue of Cyber4Growth, the role of the government. Government is for what? Government is for development and enhancing the quality of the life of the people you govern. But government has also been the regulator, what we in India used to call and earlier, you must issue a license to operate. Then came the power of technology as the biggest disruptor. And the whole governance structure changed. Today we have launched Umang app with the Prime Minister, you saw it. We just started it a week ago about pilot project. 1 million people have downloaded it till this morning. And 162 services have come on board. And our approach is to bring on this app 1,200 services reachable to nearly 1 billion people. And if in 1 week we can get 1 million, I'm quite sure it is possible. Now, when we talk of Cyber4Growth, this is just an example as to how technology can become the accelerator and facilitator of growth. The second thing which I would like to highlight is technology is a big disruptor. When I say so, ladies and gentlemen, I am saying so. I don't know what is the record of Lord Wimbledon in Parliament. I am in Parliament for 18 years. Minister earlier in the Government of India, Minister now. And I have been an activist for my student life. I have seen the evolution of India as an activist from my student life. But the sheer power of disruption and transformation which technology is bringing is mind-boggling for us. The question arises, how do we dovetail this technology for development and inclusion? I have 4 mantras which we call in Indian psyche to give to you. Number 1, ordinary people have aspiration. We need to respect that aspiration. Number 2, the most important, ordinary people now want delivery. Number 3, ordinary people now seek accountability. And number 4, ordinary people now seek engagement. Aspiration, delivery, accountability, and engagement. These are 4 pillars on which you seek to fulfill the expectations of the people. And there, the digital platform becomes the most important. I would like to give an example of the leadership which our Prime Minister showed to us. And this very growth and Cyber4Growth. We had become ministers. And the Prime Minister insisted all the ministers must be on social media. They must also use it for accountability and good governance and monitoring. We were following it. I was on social media even from before. About 2 million plus people follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Now, 3 years ago it was about 1.3 million. I've done another minister of communication also. And this is an example I'm giving as to how growth can be accelerated. I had just taken over charge. I got a complaint from an Indian expatriate in Australia. Mr. Minister, your new government has come. I had sent a consignment to my widowed mother in India. She was an Indian who was from. The consignment hasn't reached for 3 months. Will you do something about it? It was on my Facebook. I thought over it. I delivered a message to the concerned district. If by tomorrow the consignment is not delivered personally to that widow whose daughter has complained to me from Australia, action will follow. And by next day evening, I had given the time, next day morning, consent was located and delivered. This is a new paradigm of governance which digital platform is affording to us. You just heard Honorable the Prime Minister, you just heard me outlining some of the exclusive platforms we have created tailored to the need of digital delivery of services. And I can tell you it is creating ripples. Just I told you Umang, 1 week old, 1 million people downloaded and hundreds of comments have come on my Facebook. Majority appreciating, some giving suggestions. Today's growth demands accountability, demands engagement. And I think all of us who are sitting on the podium and all of you, the Minister Excellency sitting here, need to understand that. Yes, India is a democracy and we are very proud of that. Why not? And when I'm talking to here before an international crowd, let me say with great pride that we are very proud of the democracy of India. 1.3 billion population, 800 million voters. Today the people of India know they can unseat any political leader, howsoever popular, by their franchise. But they also appreciate good governance and good delivery. This new form of engagement which is coming about because of digital platform is required to be appreciated. One more aspect I would like to highlight about India. We are an ancient country, but very young population. Out of 1.30 billion Indian population, 65% is 35 years and below. And this cue I am taking for what the Prime Minister spoke about. Because most of the program, Honorable the Prime Minister has talked about e-education, e-health, e-agriculture, digital infrastructure, many of them I have talked about. But I would be giving certain different aspects of this issue for growth. And this young India is aspirational and entrepreneurial. I just talked of digital economy in my opening speech, ladies and gentlemen. And not we are only creating low-cost technological solutions, but we are creating a phenomenal ecosystem of extraordinary rising digital economy. And when I talk of digital economy, I mean communication, I mean IT and IT-enabled services, I mean electronic manufacturing, I mean digital payment model, I mean cybersecurity. Do you know e-commerce is rising in India phenomenally, powered by rural aspiration. Electronic manufacturing is rising in India When we came to power, there were only 2 mobile manufacturing factories. Now there are 105 in the last 3 years. India is becoming a big hub of mobile manufacturing and electronic manufacturing. Digital payment, as per Boston consultancy reports, India's digital payment is going to become a 500 billion economy in the coming 3 to 4 years. Are we going to tap these resources? Not only empower people, but create new avenues for them? In my opening speech, I mentioned about Common Service Center, a unique movement of India. And I would request all the delegates present here to please interact with some of the village level entrepreneurs who will be here today and tomorrow. Who are these people? 270,000 digital kiosks, mostly in small cities and villages. They are giving digital delivery of services. 35,000 are women empowerment, are women entrepreneurs, and many of them are from deprived community. When we talk of cyber for growth, do we simply mean that we create something basic for them, or we mean we bring transformation in their life? And this one program which I have been following very, very passionately is that daughters of village level workers must be given digital literacy. And today you will see many of them undertaking digital delivery of services all over the country after becoming empowered. This mouse in their hand with a laptop in their front has opened a new gateway of empowerment and growth. How can we expand this more and more? Why the Indian experiment is unique, I would like to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. It is conventionally perceived that digital technology is more for the affluent, more for the well-to-do. And under the guiding light of the Prime Minister, we said Digital India is more for the poor, for the underprivileged. We seek to empower. And the biggest day for me is when I see an ordinary farm worker enjoying his life with a smartphone in his hand. Do you know, India, even poor people prefer to have a smartphone now because that is a gateway for them for greater success and greater opening. This extraordinary march of digital inclusion surely can be replicated in other parts of the world as well. Two things I would like to add more. I talked of digital literacy. We are going to make 60 million Indians in the rural hinterland families, 6 crore, as digitally literate, known as Prime Minister Digital Literacy Program. I am particularly insisting that rural women, rural people must become digitally literate. Because when you create opportunity, you create jobs. You create new innovation. Do you know India has become the biggest startup movement in the world today? Third biggest. 3 to 4 startups we are adding every day, 4 to 5,000. Today, Indian entrepreneurs, young boys, 30, 35, are becoming owners of unicorn company, 1 billion plus turnover. We have to encourage that. And when I'm talking here, today I wish to indicate one thing more without being sectarian. The mindset of Asia is very, very innovative in many ways. No disrespect to others, please don't misunderstand me. But this mindset has not been given the opening which was required to be open. And we are very proud today that with digital technology, the power of Asia is also rising, in which India is playing a very crucial role. This is becoming a different world. More even, more balanced, and more aspirational. I've talked about the JAM, the DBT, Umang, Common Service Center. Let me talk about something about one particular changing profile of India, ETAL. ETAL is a portal in my office in Electronics Niketan, which captures every digital movement of India per second. You go for your railway ticket, you go for your train ticket, you go for digital payment of tax, everything is recorded. It is a changing profile of India, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are having 9.6 million transactions per day, which used to be hardly 1-2 million 3-4 years ago, to 3 million. This is the change we are seeking to bring about. How do we leave it? From agriculture to education to healthcare to nutrition. I must tell you, India is a vast country. We have got challenges also. We have got problems also. How can we share the best practices, ours to you, yours to ours? And I think a more inclusive digital world is going to become a more stable world. A more satisfied world is going to become a more forward-looking world. Why I say so? When I see a smartphone or a laptop or a computer in the hand of the underprivileged boy and girl, playing with Google, downloading Umang, scaling the doors of soil health card testing or market for the farmers, he has a sense of fulfillment that I stay at the same spot where he is staying, even though his pedestal may be higher. This is the inclusion which digital technology brings in its own wake. And this change is a part of that process. This is more for growth, therefore I'm not going to speak about safety and security issue. But access to internet, I will surely speak about. The last point of my speech. Internet is one of the finest creations of human mind, but today it belongs to the entire humanity. It cannot remain the exclusive preserve of few. And internet, if it is a global phenomena, it must have linkage with the local ideas, local culture, local languages. That is indeed very important. Therefore, access to internet is important and democratization of internet is important. Information highway must be available to all. And we have to ensure, I can share with my own experience here, that India today has the biggest footprint of Facebook. Largest number of apps are downloaded here. All the new technology is working with overpowering success with India, the big digital market. But I wish to acknowledge then I was handling the communication department. And my friend Mark Zuckerberg met me a number of times with the idea of free basic. What was the free basic? Everything will be free if you enter through my gate. Namely, education, health, latest broadband, other will be free, entertainment. But you'll have to enter through my gate. I said India is a democracy. We don't believe in one gate. We believe in multiple gates. Therefore, this gate locking for India will not be acceptable. And I did not allow it. This stems from our commitment that internet must be accessible to all. I think if we have consensus on all this, then I think the future is quite secure. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said in the very beginning, with my vast experience of being an activist of my student life, the fuller gateway of technology is yet to open itself. New technology from Internet of Things to artificial intelligence to blockchain technology, to other new opportunities, they are going to overtake us. We are pushing that in a very big way by having new centers of excellence in India and working more and more with new technology. But the larger issue is simply this. Any technology must be for the good of the people. Any technology must be able to empower people. Development and empowerment. If these two are blended with a platform which is inclusive, then Cyber4Growth will really become meaningful and relevant. The world which we are witnessing today will be a different world. As my Prime Minister said, within 20 years, how the world has changed, we have marked for ourselves. And talking here, I have to congratulate India's mobile company and India's internet company. Because of vast opportunity available, our mobile rates are one of the most affordable in the world. So are our internet rates. Surely, with these kinds of initiatives, we hope to foresee a great opportunity for us, because government need to remember, because most of us are in government now, sitting on the podium, and many are excellences minister here. Government should now forget being a regulator simpliciter. Government should now become a facilitator. That is the power of technology. I think if these ideas are kept in mind, surely we will have a robust ecosystem for future growth. Thank you. Appreciate it. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now, I invite Mr. Tariq Kamel, Senior Advisor to President and SVP, Government and IGO Engagement, ICANN, to kindly present the address. Mr. Tariq Kamel.
Well, good morning and namaskar from me as well. I was just listening very carefully. When you sit on a platform, it's always good to know what you have in common. Yes, we have in common by the fact that we're all on the same platform. But with certain speakers, with the one, I share a similar country of origin, which is India, the country of my parents, which of course I share with Minister Ravi Prasad. I share the same continent with another speaker, and indeed in the announcements I'm sure you've heard, I share the same first name with another. And that was just put there just to confuse people. But I hope through our dialogue this morning and during the course of the next 2 days, not only are we here to listen, we're here to learn from each other. As I was listening very carefully to what Minister Prasad was saying, and before that, Prime Minister Modi. And it's perhaps entirely appropriate that we find ourselves here, as we've heard already, the largest democracy in the world, India. But it also gives me particular pride to represent the oldest democracy in the world, the United Kingdom. And when we look back at the history of this conference, again, it's a recent history, but back in 2011, this conference took its roots, its origin in London. But here in India, it is entirely appropriate that we meet. Why? To take up those 4 mantras that the minister talked about: aspiration, delivery, accountability, and engagement. This morning, I'm sure, as we saw the prizes being given out by the Prime Minister, we were inspired. I know I turned round to a fellow minister, the minister from South Korea, and I whispered to him, my God, they're getting younger every time they go up on the stage. And that reflects what technology does. It is an enabler of the most incredible kind. And right here, when we see the bold ambitions of digital India, we see economic growth, we see financial inclusion, and of course the world-breaking uptake of Jan Dhan bank accounts, which over time will help formalize a huge swathe of its economy. India, I'm sure we all just not acknowledge but celebrate, has kick-started a digital and societal revolution through its ID, its personal finance, and technology infrastructure. And as I said already, as we come here today and tomorrow, this conference is about sharing ideas. It's about how we stimulate global economies with new technologies and how we share the lessons that we have all learned. And in this regard, I want to talk briefly about what we are doing in the United Kingdom. The task of growing and protecting our digital economy and our digital infrastructure is something that we in the UK have made a priority. And indeed, we are already seeing the fruits of that decision. In the UK, our own Silicon Valley has blossomed around, typically in a London way, a traffic interchange in London. Tech City, as it is known affectionately, and with true British understatement, as Silicon Roundabout, is the heart of the technology startup revolution that has spread right across the country. London remains the tech startup of the capital of Europe. It is attracting more investment in the first half of this year than any other European city. The sector encompasses pioneering startups with a global profile and small online businesses set up on a dining room tables right across the country. And as we've heard already, that is the incredible nature of cyberspace, of technology. Gone are the days of bricks and mortar. Gone are the days where people needed to be in industry in a particular sector for many years. Technology as an enabler has enabled young minds to grasp the global world and the global opportunities it presents. Taken together, it is transforming everything we do, from the way we eat, to the way we shop, to the way we bank, indeed the way we educate our children. As a father of three myself, it's incredible when I see my 3-year-old pick up an iPad and negotiate his way, and somewhat embarrassingly, I have to admit, at times he does it more efficiently and effectively than I can do so myself. But that just shows how technology is an enabler in the field of education. And altogether, when you look at the UK economy, they represent 7% of our economy, with the tech sector growing nearly 3 times faster than the rest of the economy in 2015. Let's look to the retail market. 4 in 5 people in the UK brought something online last year. That's more than any other country in the world. And technology has helped to create 3.5 million new jobs in the UK over the past 15 years. Earlier this year, we launched a digital strategy which aims to make the UK the best place to start and grow digital business. It also aims to ensure that our digital economy works for everyone. That strategy, ladies and gentlemen, addresses all the factors that could stimulate or constrain our digital economy. There are opportunities, but there are also challenges which lie ahead for all of us. A successful digital economy needs the right digital infrastructure. It needs people with the right skills and know-how. And in the UK, we are accelerating the development and uptake of full fibre broadband, and now, as we know, 5G. We are creating digital skills partnerships between tech company, businesses, and yes, importantly, the voluntary organisations as well, to make sure people have the skills to participate and succeed in the digital economy. We are investing in a private sector-led productivity council that will help traditional businesses also embrace technology. Yes, I acknowledge here we are in India, and as compared to India, we in the UK may not have the numbers to achieve the scale of the Aadhaar system. But we do want the UK to be a world leader in digital government, to make public services more effective, raising standards and lowering costs for taxpayers as we do so. And that is why we are sharing the source code and implementation techniques of our own government platforms internationally to help other governments launch their own digital programs with less risk. However, with those opportunities are the challenges. Perhaps the challenges as a speaker beyond the loud air conditioning systems that we sometimes have to deal with, as we are this morning. However, the advantages of doing both public and private sector business online will not be fully realized if our digital assets are vulnerable to hackers, vulnerable to criminals, vulnerable to hostile governments. Seeking the infrastructure, devices and software, the working tools of a vibrant digital economy is critical. If users and businesses cannot trust the online world, they will not fully embrace its potential. And the biggest losers will be our growth figures and the livelihoods of our people. On one level, this means ensuring that online services that we use are safe and secure. People and their data need to be properly protected so that they can communicate privately, spend money online with confidence, and know their intellectual property is safe. This, ladies and gentlemen, places an onus on all of us to build economies able to withstand the sort of crude attacks that have become a daily occurrence. Whether it's protecting ourselves from online fraud or identity theft, the role of governments is to foster an environment where businesses and citizens have the tools and the knowledge to provide secure online services and make secure online choices. As governments, we must also, importantly, lead by example in protecting the critical assets that could be subject of attack, and by working with international frameworks to deter and pursue those who threaten us online. What we have learnt about cyber attacks in the UK, whether from organised criminals, sophisticated state actors, or indeed teenage hackers, is that the vast majority of successful attacks were entirely preventable through basic protective measures, including this year's global WannaCry ransomware attack, which affected, yes, the United Kingdom, but it affected India, indeed it affected nearly every country represented at this conference in this room here this morning. And that is why the UK is investing nearly £2 billion over 5 years to transform cybersecurity and make UK the safest place in the world to live and to business online. We are looking at how to ensure internet-connected consumer products are secure by default, so that devices are developed with security built in from the start. And we are also investing more money into training and addressing the systematic challenges of developing the next generation of cybersecurity specialists. And we also hope that many will end up working at our national flagship centre, the National Cybersecurity Centre in London. As the UK's national technical authority, it not only manages all our national cybersecurity incidents, but it also carries out real-time threat analysis and gives expert advice to businesses. We must also be realistic about how much individuals and companies can do to protect themselves from online attacks. We should expect them to get the basics in place, and that is why much of our guidance focuses on exactly that. But government is in a unique position to do more. One common complaint is that governments tell industry they are not doing enough on cybersecurity without understanding costs. We have responded to this charge by working directly with industry to reduce costs, an example being for using technology to detect and filter out more of those crude high-volume attacks that hit the UK. One example of this is piloting DMARC, an email authentication system that in its first year has blocked over 300 million fraudulent emails falsely claiming to be from government. Now, instead of having to warn the public not to open dodgy emails, we are preventing those emails from arriving in the first place. And also, it's important to create a trusted digital environment that drives growth and is more than just about technical security. Disregarding privacy and freedoms will not win consent and support of our citizens. This trust can only be won and must be won with transparency and respect for freedoms and fundamental rights, such as the right to freedom of expression that we are all committed to internationally. These rights must be protected online as they are offline. At the first of these conferences, as I said, in 2011, our then Foreign Secretary, now Lord William Hague, set out 7 principles to encourage effective cooperation between governments, businesses, and organizations. These included the need for users to show tolerance and respect for diversity of language, culture, and ideas, perhaps no more poignant than right here in India, and also the need to keep cyberspace open to the free flow of information and expression. These principles are every bit as relevant today as they were then in 2011. And to this end, the UK is working on developing a digital charter with the aim of agreeing how our people and businesses should behave online in order to create an environment for societies and economies to flourish. I think we all recognize the potential of the internet to transform opportunities for people right across the globe. We saw that in this hall this morning. Secure digital technologies can revolutionize the lives of the poor, as we heard from Minister Prasad, unlock development and prosperity, and accelerate progress towards the global goals for sustainable development. And that is why the UK is investing millions in capacity building in projects worldwide that combine inclusive internet access with cybersecurity policy and skills. And to date, the UK has funded projects in over 50 countries, from helping development national cybersecurity strategies in Sri Lanka, in providing tailored training on cybercrime investigations in Nigeria. We have been working with many of you in this room, not least through the Global Forum for Cyber Expertise. And I have been pleased and impressed to see the incredible energy and ideas that have gone into forging a new global agenda for cybersecurity capacity building. To conclude, if I may, ladies and gentlemen, one clear lesson I've learned from our work, be it at home or abroad, is that everyone has a role to play. Everyone has a role to play in sustaining a free, open, peaceful, and secure cyberspace. And also that governments cannot do this alone, and nor should anyone want us to. This is about partnership. It is about collaborative working, and we can all help to roll the pitch. But as we know, the game will only be won through teamwork, involving businesses, civil society, and citizens. Only through that partnership can we create the right level of ambition, creativity, and potential. Your security, our collective security. It is our security. Your prosperity, our collective prosperity, is our prosperity. Let us all work together to really harness the technology and build a future that works for everyone. I'm reminded in closing of the famous words of Mahatma Mohandas Gandhi, who said, "We must become the change we wish to see." Let's become that change in cyberspace. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We just heard Lord Tariq Ahmad, Minister of Foreign Office, UK. Thank you so much. And now I invite Mr. Tarek Kamel, Senior Advisor to President ICANN, to please give your address. Mr. Tariq Kamel.
Good morning, Honorable Minister Prasad, Minister of Telecommunication in India and a good friend of ICANN and myself and our host, Honorable Minister Lord Tarek Ahmad. As you have rightly indicated, we share the first name together, but also one of the middle names, so this might be an opportunity to look forward to your friendship as well with ICANN and us, similar likewise with Minister Prasad. Madam Marina Kaljurand, Chair of the GCCS, Excellencies, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first of all, on behalf of ICANN, welcome you here at the GCCS conference, and I am delighted to participate on behalf of Joran Marby, the President and CEO of ICANN, who was not able to be with us here today, despite that ICANN have been successfully participating on a CEO level in the GCCS conferences since 2011, since it started backwards in London. We look forward to our successful deliberations over the next 2 days, and we are very inspired by the opening speech of Prime Minister Modi speaking about digital India and the way forward. I think this really gives the conference a good base for further discussions. The topic of this panel is the role of governments and the shift from the regulator role to the enabler role. And one of the topics that are really close to my heart. And in order to complement what has been already said by Honorable Minister Prasad and Honorable Minister Lord Ahmad, I want to look backwards together with you in order to make some observations. Innovation have been really revolutionizing the way of access over the internet and telecommunication over the last 20 years. We have used from analog technologies towards gigabit technologies and terabyte technologies, and we have seen that we are moving towards a borderless communication where the concept of the Westphalian model and the territorial model of telecommunication have been completely challenged and changed. Mobile services have been also revolutionizing the affordability, and we have seen that it is really democratizing the access all over the developing countries. And the first time I met Minister Prasad, he told me, Tarek, the internet is the biggest equalizer. And indeed, it is the biggest global equalizer as we look forward. He remembers that. The third observation is that we have been shifting with the e-government and e-governance services, automating the existing services, as we have heard the examples of India and the UK this morning, to automation of existing services within the existing frameworks, more toward automated services. Through that journey, we have been going through a number of waves of changes in policies. The first wave was deregulation of telecommunication services. And we can claim that this has happened successfully with the support of the ITU, the GSMA, and different organizations that have been hand-holding the industry worldwide towards deregulation and privatization and to moving to a new regulatory framework. The second wave of policy has been a wave of utilizing ICT for development. And we can also claim that to a great extent this has happened successfully, but using the existing frameworks of regulations, the existing frameworks of policies without introducing necessarily a revolutionary aspect in terms of legislations. Now, today, and as we have heard, we are being fronted with a new wave of digital economy. Technology, the fifth generation, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and Internet of Things are overwhelming. And definitely the legislative machine and the regulatory machine in the different sectors that are covering tourism, that are covering transport, that are covering banking and finance services are not necessarily able to catch up with the vast evolution that is happening in technology. What does this mean? This means that we are undergoing what we sometimes say the Uberization of technology. Uber is not only revolutionizing the way of transport services, but it is happening in the different sector, whether we like or not. And here we are at crossroads. Either we try to take the existing frameworks of regulations and legislations and policies and try to tweak them to fit the new technologies, and to a great extent we will face challenges, bypasses, and maybe failures. Or we move forward to a new wave of policy that we have to develop together, and we look forward that we work globally on it in order to provide the right digital policies framework for the digital economy and for the evolution in the different sectors of economy that we use happening very rapidly through technologies. These sectors have been heavily regulated historically, whether the financial sector or the transport sector or other sectors. Today, they are facing immense challenges, and we all need to help. We as a technical community consider that the role of governments really needs to shift within the coming years to a different roles, from regulator to an enabler. While doing that, we definitely look forward that this happens in an efficient way that really opens the window for foreign direct investment, enables technology to penetrate the different sectors, provide the right environment for entrepreneurship, attract really new talents in order to make sure that they have the right ecosystem and environment to be productive in a new meshed world. The shifts are happening, shifts of jobs, shift of power, and shift of finance and money. And I think that the governments really have to respond quickly and rightly to these shifts that are happening in the different sectors within the different economies. Even the UN, when it announced 1.5 years ago the Sustainable Development Goals, none of the 17 goals include a goal for ICT, but ICT is present in the different 17 goals that are there as a catalyst and as an enabler as we look forward, and definitely we hope to see that happening in the different sectors in order really to absorb the effect of the technology. Some people call it disruptive, I call it challenging the existing regulations while we go forward. We need to see really that the different agencies, cross-departmental on a governmental level, work together efficiently when it comes to digital policies and cyber policies. At our level, at ICANN, at the Government Advisory Committee, we start to see a shift of representation of governments at ICANN. It is not restricted anymore to the digital regulators that we have been witnessing over the last 15 years. Now we see ministries of foreign affairs, law enforcement agencies, and other players coming within the Government Advisory Committee to play a role within the multi-stakeholder environment of ICANN, and I think that this will happen across different organizations while we do forward. It is not only about challenges, but it is about opportunities as well, specifically for the emerging economies and the developing countries. We heard the success story in India, but similar success stories exist in different parts of the world, in Mexico, in Egypt, in Kenya with the mobile payment, and in other places in the emerging economy while we go forward. Let's not forget that the real growth in mobile services and internet penetration is going to come from emerging economies, because simply 60% of the population of the emerging economy are under the age of 30, and they are waiting really to become part of the global digital economy that we are putting the frameworks for together when we are doing the shift today from a regulator to an enabler. What should we expect from the GCCS process, if I may say, Madam Marina, not a conference, but the whole process since we have been starting back and looking forward? We hope that we see a real platform for discussion and deliberation about the digital policies, an enabling environment that really looks forward how digital policies can move from the role of regulator to the role of enabler. The role of light regulation, talking about framework of digital policies on a global level, and leave then to every community and within each country together with their governments to put the right frameworks for their applications. We have been working in a multi-stakeholder model at ICANN over the last 20 years, and it has been quite successful, with strong involvement and consultation with the civil society, the private sector, the academia, as well as the role of governments in public services area while we move forward. And we definitely recommend this model because we have witnessed its success in growing the domain name industries to a really successful industries that include as well internationalized domain names that are used in different languages. But is everything so easy? No. Definitely the biggest challenge, as Lord Ahmad has mentioned, will continue to be cybersecurity. In order to protect our citizens and gain trust in the systems, we need more and more to work together on the right frameworks on cybersecurity with the light touch of regulations that I have been mentioning. It is a huge challenge in order to make the balance between privacy, data protection from one side, law enforcement and cybersecurity from the other side. It's a huge challenge in order really to foster innovation and at the same time to make sure that we provide the safe and secure platform for our citizens to work forward. It is a huge challenge to introduce new digital policies in transport, in tourism, in finance, and in different sectors and application, while really making sure that we continue to provide the right platform and the right ecosystem moving forward. I expect and think that the GCCS process will help us in paving the way while moving forward. And just seeing the attendance here at the conference and the role that our distinguished host has been playing in making this happen, this makes us optimistic that we are moving in the right direction and that we will be really productive in discussing and providing some frameworks of digital policies that are effective globally to foster innovation and to help really improve our economy for socio-economic development, and as I mentioned, hopefully in a multi-stakeholder forum. Ladies and gentlemen, let me again thank Minister Prasad for his hosting us here today, and look forward really to successful deliberations. And I am here together with my colleagues, board members from ICANN and vice presidents of ICANN within the next 2 to 3 days in order to interact with you and to answer any questions about the activities that ICANN is doing in India, but also at other places of the world in a multi-stakeholder forum. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you a successful conference and deliberation. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you, sir. I will bring this into your notice that Natasha is here, and what honorable speakers are speaking, she is capturing in the form of graphics. So during the lunchtime, you can have a look. Thank you. Now I request Madam Marina, Ambassador Marina Kaljurand, Chair Global Commission on Stability of Cyberspace, Estonia, to give her address. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor and privilege to be part of this honorable panel and this discussion. I would like to recognize the organizers of the conference for putting this important subject on the topic of the conference. I'm proud to bring some gender balance to the speakers. I have been Estonian Foreign Minister, and I have been Estonian expert at the United Nations Group of Governmental Experts on Cybersecurity, and I'm so happy to see some of my colleagues here in the audience. And today I'm the chair of the Global Commission on Stability of Cyberspace, and I'm really happy to see some commissioners in the audience. I've seen the work of government from inside, from outside. I've seen how governments work nationally and internationally. And in my remarks, I would like to talk about 3 topics. First, about the role of government in providing cyber services and cybersecurity. Second, about the importance of multi-stakeholder approach. And third, about the importance of international cooperation. I do not come from the biggest democracy. I do not come from the oldest democracy. On the contrary, I come from Estonia, small but smart, with population of 1.3 million. Yes, million, not billion. But it's a government and it's a country where we are proud of, as we call it, e-lifestyle. It started with recognizing and having digital agenda and cybersecurity high on political agenda. Then came paperless e-government, digital signatures that save us annually up to 2% of GDP. Then came Skype. I hope you all know that Skype was invented by Estonians. Then came online voting, and today there are about 3,000 online services that are open to Estonian residents. We understand that digital lifestyle means digital dependency, digital vulnerabilities, and facing digital challenges. I'm proud that according to the ITU Cybersecurity Index, Estonia ranks number 1 in Europe and number 5 globally, although I admit that there is room for improvement. Cybersecurity is a complicated challenge already today, and we will face additional challenges with IoT, artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing. Cyber incidents have become new normality. Problems that are caused not only by malicious acts and actors, but also by industry flaws, vulnerabilities of supply chain, and low cyber hygiene of us, consumers. Threats have changed, but they exist. There are no 100% secure services or products online, neither offline. But the risks can be, and the risks have to be minimized. So what is the role of government, and what do I expect from my government? First, to provide open, free, secure, affordable, accessible internet connection. Second, to provide online services that break bureaucracy and kill corruption. Third, to provide secure exchange of data, integrity of data, and authentication of persons engaged in digital interaction. Fourth, to introduce cyber hygiene and cyber education to people, starting from the first grade and never ending. Fifth, to gain and keep the trust of people. Trust is something that is not easy to gain and is not easy to keep. But without trust, people will never participate in online services. And last but not least, I want my government to be vocal and visible internationally in securing and promoting safe and secure cybersecurity. I agree it's ambitious. I agree it's not easy, but it's doable. I've seen that. Governments just have to agree and admit some elementary things. Governments have to admit that cybersecurity has become an integral part of national and international security, the one that governments cannot effectively manage alone, for the first time in the history of mankind. Governments have to come out from their comfort zone and start cooperating with industry, private sector and multi-stakeholders, not only in policy documents, but even more important in practice. Because private sector owns critical infrastructure, because private sector provides online services, because private sector employs the best brains, the best IT geeks that governments can't afford. Different countries have different experiences. My country's experience started in the beginning of the 90s, when it was a clear decision by the government not to start governmental online services, but to support private sector and to buy services from the private sector. Governments have to accept that the only way to success is through cooperation with multi-stakeholders, in addition to private sector, both on national and international level. I am honored to chair the Global Commission on Stability of Cyberspace. It's a multi-stakeholder platform that comprises 27 prominent independent commissioners representing a wide range of geographic regions, as well as government, industry, technical and civil society stakeholders who can credibly speak on different aspects of cybersecurity. I'm proud to say that our Commission yesterday made public our first document. It's a call to protect the public core of the Internet and introduced a new norm on non-interference with the public core of Internet. And I'm really happy to note that security, stability and availability of Internet were mentioned by all previous speakers. So what does the norm say? The norm says, and here I quote, "Without prejudice to their rights and obligations, state and non-state actors should not conduct or knowingly allow activity that intentionally and substantially damages the general availability or integrity of the public core of the Internet, and therefore the stability of cyberspace." I would like to urge all participants of the conference, all governments, all multi-stakeholders, look into that norm and support us in our endeavors. Only together we can be successful. Third, what governments have to do, they have to think out of the box, and maybe even they have to think and act like startups. I'll bring a couple of examples. The e-residency concept that was started in Estonia 2 years ago allows foreigners access to some of the online services which are affordable and accessible to our own residents. We should not build walls, and we should not separate ourselves. Or it's the last time to start discussing the legal status of artificial intelligence. Some governments are doing it already. I know that artificial intelligence sits on the board of directors in one of the Finnish companies, Tieto, but there is no law yet. So it's up to the governments to be the front runners and to start looking into the subjects that are the subjects of tomorrow. And finally, I would like to emphasize the importance of international cooperation. Cyber does not have borders, and therefore approach to cybersecurity should not have borders. Where does international cooperation start? For me, it starts with trust and respect. It starts with respecting and fulfilling international obligations and commitments, adhering to international law, including human rights. Cyberspace is not a lawless jungle where those who have power rule. Already in 2013, international community agreed, and in 2015 reiterated that international law, in particular UN Charter in its entirety, applies to cyberspace. So let's start applying it. There might be questions, how? Let's answer the questions. Because if we don't do that, there are bad guys out who would like to take advantage of the gray zones, who would like to have advantage that we do not have clear answers to the questions. Some days ago, I learned that there are 84 international cybersecurity initiatives. 84. I don't know what all of them are doing. And I don't know whether they are all up to their purposes and objectives. But I know that there is never too much of discussions about cybersecurity. I see there is a role for global endeavors in the framework of the United Nations. I would like to recognize the regional endeavors. OSCE, NATO, EU are the ones from my region, and also the importance of bilateral dialogues, bilateral cooperations. I hope that all of these organizations have their role, have their mission, and have their mission statements. With that, I would like to thank you for attention. I would like to wish us all successful conference and inspiring debates. Thank you.
Thank you, all the dignitaries. Thank you, Honorable Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, respected Mr. Tariq Kamel, respected Ambassador Marina, respected Lord Ahmad. As a token of our immense respect and to honor the dignitaries on the dais, we would like to present them mementos. First of all, I request Tulika Pandey, Director in the Ministry, to please come up onto the stage and present a memento to Honorable Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad. Mrs. Geeta Kachpalia, Director in the Ministry, I would like to request you to kindly present memento to Lord Ahmad, respected Lord Ahmad. Alka Mishra would now present memento to Honorable Mr. Tariq Kamel. Alka Mishra. Swarnalata. This is the token of our immense respect and to honor the dignitaries. And now Swarnalata will come onto the stage and present memento to Ambassador Marina. Thank you, honorable speakers, for the deliberations. You all are requested to kindly join us for lunch, and we shall resume the next session at 2:15 p.m. And the lunch is being arranged in the Hotel Pullman. Thank you. Good luck. See you at 2:15 p.m. for the next session.